Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sam. My pronouns are they, them, and I am the Director of Member Experience at Advent Coworking. I am in my home today, surrounded by lots of cats who may show up. It's great. But I'm so excited to be here today with Melvin. Advent Member Talks is our weekly event. Each week features a different member on the topic of their choosing. We love getting to put on this event, highlighting our members, giving them space to skill share, and getting to promote them and all the amazing work that they do on our socials. So if you have any questions for Melvin, please go ahead, type those into the comments, and we will have a Q&A at the end. Melvin, I'll hand it over to you.
Right. First of all, I'd like to say thanks, Sam, for having me on to give a talk. And it's a pleasure just getting to know you and everyone else at Advent. It's been a fun experience since I've been there. And to anyone who's watching, if I haven't met you yet, wow, that was interesting. It's a pleasure to meet you virtually, and hopefully I will run into you in the hallways at some point. Today, we're going to talk about the power of knowing your purpose. I know that oftentimes, just in pop culture, you'll hear everyone talking about purpose from time to time. I believe a while ago, it became a very big topic with the purpose-driven life, but I'm going to come at purpose from a little bit of a different angle. And I'm hoping that as we get into this talk, that it'll really, get you to think about some things. Feel free to take notes. Hopefully something within this talk will resonate with you, because this talk is birthed out of my life. It's birthed out of me learning my journey and going through the various things that I've gone through to finally get and understand what in the world purpose is all about. So let's go ahead and get into this topic, and hopefully we'll have some fun along the way. Now, as I talk about purpose, with a lot of what I do as a teacher, I love to give object lessons, because I think that when you do that, you are able to relate the lesson to something that's memorable, something that you will not forget. And oftentimes, as you're moving along, if things are going, badly, and you're having a rough day, and you think about just one little thing in relation to that object, it'll trigger the lessons and the notes, and hopefully get you the gas that you need to keep going. So as we talk about purpose, I'm going to use a metaphor of taking a journey. Okay, so when you think about a journey, think about life, think about, where you're headed, because with every journey, you have a start, you have a middle, and you have an ending. And as we all take our journeys of life, we all start with the same currency. We all get the same amount of time. And we are all born with our own personalities. We're born with our individual aspects to ourselves, but we all get that one common factor every single day. We get the currency of time. We get 24 hours. Now, what we do with that 24 hours is vitally important, because that 24-hour period can not only determine the quantity of your life based on the decisions that you make, but it also will govern the quality of your life. It'll govern whether your life is a success or a failure. If you end up being a life, having a life full of friends and full of family and full of things of that nature, or if you live a life of solitude, it's all based on how you spend that 24-hour period, okay? So as we get into talking about purpose, I want you to take a moment and do some reflection. So as you reflect, think about your life right now. Take a moment and think about how you started in life, as a child and growing up and going to school and things of that nature. Fast forward to where you are right now. And I want you to take a little bit of that time to think about this one thing. How do you see your life 5 years from now? Or how do you see your life 10 years from now? But as you reflect on your life's journey, consider what the destination looks like. Is it a situation to where your life is full of joy, where you're having, emotional satisfaction, where you've put in your hard work and you're able to enjoy the fruits of your labor? Or is it a situation to where, you are finding yourself 10 or 15 years down the road with your, head in your hands with a lot of shoulds, like, man, I should have done this, or I should have done that, or I wish I would have, or I wish I could. But what does that look like to you? So as you're thinking about that, consider, what does the next 5 years of your life look like? Okay. Now, Another thing I want you to consider is if you believe you have a good grasp on where your life is going and a good grasp as to what your goals are and you're moving on down the road, what in your current life is confirming to you that you're on the right path? What type of things are you doing? What type of, signpost have you set up to let you know that you are in fact moving in the right direction? Or how would you know if you've made a turn and you're doing something you shouldn't be doing? Is it going to get you where you're trying to go? Okay, so think about those things for a moment. Now, as we consider purpose and as we consider, the journey of our life, I want you to really focus on this as a very individual thing, because when we talk about purpose, oftentimes people have in mind that purpose is like, the reason that something exists, or, oftentimes when we talk about life purpose, it's about why were we born? Why are you here? What types of things are you doing? It's kind of become linked with what you do. So as you are taking this moment and we're doing this, we're still, standing at the top of this mountain with this young lady, and we're thinking about our lives. We're thinking about what we have put there to let us know what's on the right path. Consider this question. What does purpose mean to you? And as you're thinking of that, I want you to consider something. As an individual, you were born with different skills. You were born with different faculties that, you may have siblings, but you're not the same. I was raised with 4 younger sisters, and we are all night and day different. We lived in the same house for at least 18 years of my life, and we're all different. We all think differently. There's so many different aspects to our lives, even though we came from the same household. So when you think about your purpose, I don't want you to compare your purpose to anyone else in your family. Don't compare your purpose to a role model or anything like that. But think about, what does purpose mean to you? And I'm here to tell you what I think purpose means. I think that purpose really deals with who you are at the core of your being. Now think about that for a moment. Who are you really? Are you who your parents have told you that you are? Are you who you are based on your accomplishments? Because oftentimes we've been taught, success is the big house, it's the trophy partner, it's the money in the bank that you have. But then you find people who've achieved all those things. Some of them commit suicide, unfortunately. Some of them, their marriages don't last any longer than a year. There are things that happen. So that shows that purpose really isn't about what you gain. It's really about who you are, because at the end of the day, who you are is going to determine all the decisions that you make when you deal with your day-to-day issues of life. So think about that. What is purpose? What does purpose mean to you? Okay. And as we're considering what purpose means, here's another thing to consider. Your life is the journey. Each and every one of us are going somewhere. It's so funny. My wife and I will look at Facebook from time to time, and we will look at, those memories that they give you where they show you ate at a restaurant, and you have that memory come up. But then you go and you look at the time frame. Some of those memories that we've had, I thought to myself, oh, that happened a year ago. And it was 8 years ago, And it's so funny when we consider our lives, because time is moving whether we are moving along with it or not. That is the one constant that is not going to change. It just keeps moving. And as long as you're breathing, you're going to arrive somewhere, because all of our days are numbered. We all have a certain window of time in this life to do whatever we're going to do. So as we're considering purpose, think of that image again, where life is that highway. That highway can be full of great things. It can lead you somewhere great, or it can lead you to something very detrimental. But the thing that's the determining factor is that vehicle, which is your purpose. Your purpose, like a vehicle, will carry you to wherever you're trying to go. Oftentimes in life, we have many vehicles that we deal with. We think our college degree is the vehicle that's going to get us to a life of peace and happiness. Or sometimes, if I just marry the right person, that's going to be the vehicle that gets me where I want to go. Or what if I just make the right networking connection with the right business partner, and then my life's going to be golden? I'm here to tell you that's not always the case, because that vehicle for you may not be your purpose. It may be something you learned. It may be something that you've been taught, but is it really your purpose? I'm going to help you to understand if you're in alignment with your purpose, or if you're just doing things that are helping you get by on this highway of life, but you might be in the wrong vehicle. Okay? So consider your life, consider as you're moving along that your purpose is designed to take you where you're trying to go. Now, why is purpose so important? Look at this image of this highway here. There's lots of turns, lots of twists, lots of exits, lots of ways to keep straight. And there are a lot of different decisions you have to make, right? And it's just like our life. Life is full of decisions that we have to make. But what is the thing that is driving those decisions? What is the factor that is making you to pick A versus B? And it can be very small. But in life, those very small decisions compound and add up to rather large decisions. You know, one decision you may make when you graduate high school can determine the next 20 years of your life. But how do you know if that's the right decision for you? How do you know if you are doing loops on that expressway of life in the wrong vehicle? Okay? When we consider our purpose and when we think about purpose, consider this. Your purpose, and the reason why purpose is so important is because within your purpose is where you as an individual will be the most impactful. It's where, you know, there are times where we will consider someone like Michael Jordan, for example, who it's just obvious the guy was made to play basketball. But think if Michael Jordan was an accountant. Think about how tall he is, how muscular and strong he is, and how fast he may be, you know, but he goes to a job every single day, puts on a suit, and sits at a cubicle all day. Think about how frustrating that is. Think about your life, where you may be on the inside something different than what you're doing right now. Okay? That's a key indication that you may not be in alignment with your purpose, because your purpose is designed to bring out of you what's going to make you the most impactful. And your purpose is also going to be a determining factor as to how you evolve as an individual. It's going to be where your growth is. It's going to be where a lot of times where your true success lies. Because when we hear people talk about doing things that you're passionate about, or, you know, goal setting, find those goals that make you happy. Well, when you connect to your purpose, that kind of comes automatic, you know, because you'll be doing the thing that'll be driving your purpose is what's something that's on the inside of you that I like to call the urgent resolve. And when you look at how I'll go back a couple of slides where when I showed you this word purpose, notice how I've highlighted it with a red U and a red R. To me, that stands for the urgent resolve. And when I say urgent resolve, you may say, Melvin, what in the world is the urgent resolve? Think about this. Every time that you are not inside your purpose, something on the inside of you is nudging. It's that little bitty thought that you have at 3 a.m. when you roll over, you know, you may go to the restroom or something, and you may be thinking about what you got to do when you wake up to go to your day job, right? Something on the inside of you is not content. But there's something that's like, man, there's something that I know I can be better at than what I'm currently doing. There's something that when I look at a particular movie, it just really strikes a chord and resonates with me. And I feel like my life should be like that versus what I'm currently experiencing. So I call that the urgent resolve. It's that nudging thing on the inside of you that won't allow you to settle for less. It won't allow you to settle for anything less than your purpose. Okay? So it's vitally important to understand walking in your purpose, because that is who you truly are at your core. And that is where I believe all of your gifts are, all of your talent is, and ultimately how you're as an individual going to impact the world. Or if you know your goal is just to build a family, you're going to be the best family person in the world. If you want to be in the right type of business, if you do a business that's in alignment with your purpose, it'll be like a fish swimming in water. It won't be a struggle for you. I mean, life comes to us all, but a person who understands the purpose and walks in it, they're able to handle life significantly different from those of us who have not discovered what our purpose is, okay? So now that we've talked about your purpose being the vehicle that gets you to where you're trying to go, and we've looked at this highway that can be, confusing as all get out, but when we think about our life decisions, our life looks a lot like this road where there are lots of decisions that have to be made. And the funny thing is, we don't get that bird's eye view. We are looking at it from the perspective of a person sitting in the car. So we don't even see how that some of the decisions that we're going to make will impact us a little bit down the road. Now, in life, as in, you're going to take a journey, and let's say that you have a car, and that car is beautiful on the outside, but it breaks down, right? Here we have all of these tools that we can use to fix our vehicle. But are these the right tools? If I needed to do something with my tire, could any of these tools fix my tire? It might, maybe it won't. But when we consider our lives, like the analogy of this car, we're told over and over and over again, how, well, life can be so much better if you lose weight, or life can be so much better if you pick this particular life path. Doctors and lawyers do very well in life, but what if you were born to be an artist, right? So let's just say you have an artist who, from the time they were born, they would draw things on their wall. They get into trouble in school, they would paint, but they kept being forced to learn a different profession because, you got to make money. You have to do this, you have to do that. So, you have to take these tools and fix yourself. But what if nothing's broken? What if there's absolutely nothing wrong with you, but you're constantly being told that you have to get fixed? That's how our lives are in a lot of instances when we don't know our purpose. And the unfortunate thing is we've been conditioned out of our purpose. If you think about your life in terms of when you were younger, what are those things that resonated with you? When life wasn't there to tell you, well, you can't do that, or you can't believe in yourself enough to do that, or you don't have the resources to do that. But what were those things on the inside of you that motivated you? What were those things that you saw yourself doing when you closed your eyes, when you were able to dream without being told that you couldn't, right? Those things are hints to what your purpose actually is. But unfortunately, life fixes those things right out of us. Life comes in and turns the right screw, and you no longer have interest in the thing you were born to do. Now you are pursuing something that has nothing to do with your life, nothing that brings you joy, and is not going to ultimately be the vehicle that gets you to the destination that you see in your mind. It's going to get you to the destination that you've settled for. Okay, so think about those tools. Think about in life, how many times we try to fix ourselves, but we don't really know what the problem is. And I'm here to tell you that ultimately that problem, more than likely, is the urgent resolve that we're not listening to. And when it comes to dealing with a car, it doesn't matter how beautiful that car is on the outside. Most of the problems that are major problems happened underneath the hood. It happens with the engine block. Maybe there wasn't enough oil put into the engine, or something wasn't serviced properly, and you're just driving along down the road and one day you have a breakdown. The car looks fine on the outside, but on the inside, something's wrong. And so think about that in terms of your life. As you're moving along in life and we've had our breakdowns, have you really been able to figure out what the cause of that breakdown is? Have you used the right tools to see what may have started the breakdown in the first place? And I'm here to tell you that more than likely, that was an occurrence of you not being in alignment with your purpose and doing something that didn't line up with your life. And now you're trying to scramble to fix a situation. And if you just figure out a way, no matter where you are in life right now, to identify with your purpose, even when problems like this occur, you can begin to navigate through them and make decisions that will help you to not only turn this situation around, but you'll learn a lesson out of it to where if it ever happens again, you'll know what to do, and you can help someone else get through the same problem if they face it. Another issue with not knowing your purpose, going back to this vehicle analogy, look at this windshield. Now, we can kind of see through the windshield. We can see that we're moving in a direction, but it's all dirty. It's full of rain and it's full of dirt, and you don't know if you're about to run off the road or run into a tree, right? Now, considering your lives, that windshield is being the filter over your mind and how you believe and how you think. It's kind of like the filter over your, what I like to call your internal representation. So that is that self-dialogue that you have. When you are sitting to yourself, maybe enjoying a beverage or sitting outside in the sun and you're thinking about your life, more than likely it's going through a filter that you set up. And a lot of times we didn't put that filter there. Our environment did, our parents did, and just life came in and caused life, the things that we are dealing with to be seen through this filter. So when your filter is all dirty and you can't clearly see your way, it's very difficult to make the right decisions for your life. So you're trying to move in a direction, but you really can't see. You know that you're moving, but you don't know where you're going. And with understanding what your purpose is, not only will you be able to clean that filter, it's kind of like cleaning your perception, how you think, because I'll use as an example, going to a restaurant, okay? And you have a host that's there. We've all had situations to where we've had a host that either A, when they first met us, they greeted us with a smile, they said, welcome to the restaurant. They led you to where you're going to be seated, and their personality was just amazing. The food was great, and when you left, you were like, man, I'm going to go back there again because that place was so great. That person more than likely is walking in their purpose, and they understand how to deal with people because they love people. Now, take another person who they just don't like dealing with people whatsoever, but they've taken the job as a host. When you come to that person, they're probably not going to be as kind. They're probably not going to be as courteous. They're probably going to do something that disrupts the entire situation. And you're going to absolutely hate the restaurant. And you're probably never going to go back again. Now, the travesty in that is not only did the person kind of work with creating an environment for you that made your meal unpleasurable, but they probably had a bad day as well, which is what led to them dealing with things in the first place, to where they weren't kind, they didn't smile, they didn't attend to you the way you needed to. So, I know that's just a small example, but when a person is walking in a purpose, when a person is doing something that resonates with them, it's just like a state of flow that they get into to where it's seamless, to where no matter what happens, when problems arise, they're able to very easily transition in and out of them and do things that need to be done to help not only fix the issue, but make life better for everyone around. So your purpose will do that for you and those around you, okay? Now, let's look at this question. Are you in alignment with your purpose? Are you doing things that resonate with who you are as an individual, or are you doing things that don't resonate with who you are? And I know we're kind of getting low on time, so I'm going to just get through these points and give some pointers of things that may be very helpful. So one is, if you're not in alignment with your purpose, you're going to feel stuck in your life. Have you had those situations to where you work in a job and it didn't matter how good you were, no matter how much effort and energy you put into it, your career didn't progress, you didn't seem to go anywhere, you just felt stuck. And you felt like, man, what am I doing? I'm spinning my wheels here. I got the same education as my coworker, but it doesn't feel like I'm moving. Okay, that tells you that you're not in alignment with your purpose. Do you love what you're doing? Okay, or are you just tolerating it? Is it a situation to where you find joy out of doing this? We've heard the cliche statement, what would you do if you had $1 million? Those types of things, they're prompted to get you to think about having a love and a passion for what you're doing. So if you're doing something and it is not giving you fulfillment and you feel empty, that is another indication that you are not in alignment with your purpose. And just like with the car, you can put brand new tires on it, but if those tires aren't aligned, you're going to do wear and tear and damage to your car, and it's going to cost you money and just going to be a mess. And think about the wear and tear you do to your life, to your body, to your situation, and even your finances when you are not in alignment with your purpose, okay? So think about it in terms of, with whatever you're doing, do you feel stuck? Do you feel like you are completely dead in the water and you're not moving at all? Or do you feel like you're making a lot of detours? You know, you're moving down in one direction and then something else looks good and you go after that. Or this course looks good, so I'll take that course. Maybe that'll help me. Maybe that'll help me get where on the inside this urgent resolve is nudging me. So I haven't settled it, but I'll choose this course and I'll spend the $400. And once it's over, well, maybe I need to take the same course from a different person. You see what I'm saying? It's those situations to where when you see that you're going around in a loop and your actions aren't really getting you down the road, that's another key indication that you are not in alignment with your purpose, that you're just doing something for the sake of doing it in hopes that it's going to get you to the destination that you want to arrive at, ultimately. Now, what are some things that you can do to ensure that you are in alignment with your purpose? Okay, we've talked about if your journey's at a standstill and you know that light's green, but the light in front of you is red. The light directly in front of you is telling you can't move, but you see down the road where you want to be. Okay, here's some things to consider to let you know that you are in fact in alignment with your purpose. It starts with observing the signs and signals of your life. It starts with looking at the results that you're getting. Are you seeing the things in your life that are telling you, as we said early on, you know, as confirmation that, yeah, I'm moving toward my goal. In 5 years, I'm going to be exactly where I want to be, doing what I want to be doing, and feeling the way I want to feel. Because if you're not looking at the signs in your life, you won't see that you're not on the right path, okay? So as you're observing these signs in your life, consider this. One, does it identify with who you are? As I gave the analogy earlier with the movies, there are times that we'll watch a movie and you'll see a particular character and you just resonate with it because something in them and how they deal with life resonates with who you are. It's like there's a feeling that comes over you every time you see a person dance, or every time you hear a certain line quoted, you know, or something like that. Or it could be music that you're listening to. Whatever in your life identifies with who you are as an individual. You know, kind of when you're doing it, it just feels like it's something you should be doing. That's a key indication to what your purpose is. Another indication is what's the fuel on the inside of you that's driving you to be doing what you're doing. When you're in alignment with your purpose, that comes automatically. It's like a switch gets turned on and you can do what you do all day and all night and someone will have to make you take a break because you're so passionate about it. That's a good indication that what you're doing is a part of your purpose, that you are in fact in alignment. And the last thing that I'll speak to on that is, are you being fulfilled? Because when you are in your purpose, you'll be making incremental steps, but as you take one step, you may be doing something here and there. You may be experiencing different emotions, but you will feel like I've grown a little bit. Okay, so now what's the next thing? As you move along, you'll find that a pattern starts to reveal itself to you. You'll start to see and understand, okay, I'm where I'm at right now, but the next step that I need to take, I need to make this move. And when you make that move, you will see the corresponding results. You will feel happy about it. You will see the growth, and your life progresses one step after the next step after the next step. So when you are in alignment with your purpose, it may start, even if you start today, no matter if you're 30, 40, 50, 70, you know, as long as there's breath in your body, you have an opportunity to begin to walk in your purpose. And as I said earlier, when you are truly in your purpose, that's where you're going to make the most impact. Because if you start walking in your purpose in your 40s and you make the right comment to the right person, you don't know if that person is going to be the next president of the United States. You don't know what those results are going to be, but what you said was so impactful in the moment because you were in your purpose. You transformed someone's life who ultimately could transform the world. So all that to say, it's vitally important to understand what your purpose is, because that is where your most authentic self is going to be and where you're going to grow and develop and really be someone to, you know, be a dynamic person and change the world. So I don't know if anyone has any questions at this point, but
Thank Thank you so much, Melvin. I want you to like keep talking about this for like a whole other hour because I have so many questions about how do I figure out what my purpose is. So
we can definitely talk about this, Sam, because it's something I'm passionate about because I have gone through the ringer in my life with understanding things of this nature. And so, you know, when you're going to, when at least in my situation with figuring out what my purpose was, just like everyone else, I was told you got to find the right mentor. But what about when you have mentors that don't really have an interest in you, or they are envious, or whatever the case may be, and where they don't really make that type of deposit in your life? Doesn't mean your life should stop. It just means you have to figure out who you are. And one point that I meant to make earlier is we have been conditioned to look outside ourselves for everything. You know, we look up to the sky, we look up to, you know, people, but learning about what your purpose is really a deep dive inside yourself.
Absolutely. Well, we're a bit over time, but we have a question here from Bob,
Okay.
who's been watching. Thanks for joining, Bob. Let's see. So do you think assessment tools are helpful in understanding some of what your purpose is? So like Myers-Briggs, you know, spiritual gifts, assessments, things like that.
I totally think those type of assessments are great. I've done several of them myself. And what I think they serve as, if you look at them a little bit differently, they can be tools to help identify those different things that we talked about earlier. Like when you take a test like that, it may show an aspect of your personality. For example, when I took one, I found that I'm a very empathic individual. You know, that means that I feel a lot of things, that I'm very sensitive to emotion. So, you know, I can sense how people are doing and how people are feeling. Well, most of my life was spent frustrated trying to understand, why am I so moody? You know, why is it that when I go into a situation, I can feel the room and that leaves with me? Well, taking an assessment like that helped me to understand that about my personality. So now I can work with who I am. So I believe that those tests are totally, good tools to use, but the way in which you use them, in my opinion, is to just help you understand more about who you are, and then you tweak that information.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you so much, Melvin. If folks want to talk to you about this more, just learn more about you, support your work, what's the best way for them to do so?
They can go to our website, creativecanvasproductions.com, or if they're in the building, we're on the second floor, they can always feel free to stop by and visit. I love to talk to people. So, and if, you want to look into more of the teachings that I've done, because not only am I, the digital artist, and that's our business, but I do a lot of teachings and writing on my website, neu.com, and that's PNEU.com. I'm sorry, PNEUYOU. I keep forgetting that, the Y. But PNEUYOU.com is the other website where you can check out a lot of my personal teachings.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, if you are inside of Advent, if you go into our library, I believe we have some of Melvin's books as well in the library that you can check out. But thank you again so much, Melvin. And thanks to everyone who has joined us today for our weekly event, Advent Member Talks. You can view all of our previous member talks on our YouTube channel, Advent Coworking. You can also read them on our blog at adventcoworking.com. Hope you all have a great rest of your day and see you next Tuesday.
Thanks, everyone.